Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have with us Mr. Femi Adeniran, who will be taking us on the topic around Excel for HR professionals and how we can use it for some decision making. Thank you so much. I'd like to hand over control to Mr. Adeniran in the interest of time. Over to you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Mr. Adeosun. And good morning, all participants. Good morning. Thank you for giving me this platform. Mr. Adeosun, please, could you please enable the sharing screen so that I can share my screen? Hello, Mr. Adeosun.
This has been done, sir.
Okay. All right. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. All right. So let's, good morning all once again. And thank you for having me here. So I'll be speaking on how you can use Excel to do reporting. That is Excel for HR analytics. So briefly, a well-written HR report is the one that is analytical, okay, and full of insight. You can derive insight from it. So for you to be able to make a good business decision. And oftentimes you don't need a complicated tools to be able to, to do some stuff with your data set that you have. So the Microsoft Office, which is one of Excel, is a very useful tool for you to be able to analyze your data and get an insight from this data. So Excel is readily available and it's cheaper. So, and you can do a lot of stuff that, you cannot even imagine that Excel is able to do for you with this tool. So it's a very good tool. So I'll be demonstrating in this, showing you what I have done with this. What you can see on the screen is what I have done with the data that I've sent to you. So I will be demonstrating replicating this and be showing you step by step how you can make a useful insight from your data set. Yeah. So one more thing, why is it important for you to have an HR report, or you can call it HR analytics, okay? So it will enable you to track, track problem areas, okay? And it's also for monitoring purposes. You can monitor, trend over time from people's data. So it is very, very important to always have an HR report, and Excel can help you, do this. So I don't want to bore you with much words or of this background. So let's just get right into it and see how we can analyze this data. So I have sent the data to you, and I would like everybody to also open that data so that we can work with it together. So it is a practical thing. So you have to be doing it as I am also showing you. So this is the data that I have sent to everyone. Is a simple data. So the data can be more than this. So, but for the purpose of this section or webinar, I want to use this data, just a simple data, to show you how you can derive insight from this data. Now, before you can analyze the data, you need your data to be properly set, a proper data set. So it's required. You don't just jump into analysis. You don't just jump into analysis of any data without, getting familiar with that data and saying that it is right for you to, analyze. So when you look at this data, you see that it is not properly, it is not a proper data set like the hire date. It looks like a number, a serial number, and it's supposed to be showing a date. And we also have a date of birth here. It's also showing like a serial number. So it's supposed to have to show like a, a date format. So you need to format it. So the process of doing this is what we call data cleaning. Okay, you clean your data while you are looking at it. You are looking at it. You are mining it. Okay, you are looking at how you can make it clean, ready for analysis. So that is what we're going to do. So now in the employees data here, I will just double click on this to see what is there. Okay. Now in the hire date, I will click on column C, and I'm going to go to under your own tab, within the number sections. So you see this button here where we have the general, okay? So you can see the number format there. So click that drop down. When you click the drop down, you will see short date. So you can just click on that short date just to format it back to the short date. Okay, so I have the hire date for all these employee formatted. Now I can do the same process for the date of birth as well. But I want us to use another method, to also achieve the same result that we have in column C for column D. Okay, so just select the whole, or why the whole of column C is being selected. Okay, so under your own tab, you see what we have, this format painter brush. Okay, this format painter brush that looks like a brush. Okay, click on it. When you click on it, so what that brush is doing is that it helps you to, apply the same format, okay, of a particular cell or a group of cell to another different location or cell. So I'm applying it to D, column B. So I have achieved the same. So that's another method in which you can do that as well. Okay. All right. Now, before I also go into details, I'll also inspect this and see what other attributes I can get for this data set, like the hire date. Now, there's what we call, the base measure. Okay. So when you look at this employee, if I go down from the beginning to the end, I have about 111 employees. So that's like a base measure is already fixed. Okay. Base measure. So then I need to do what we call a calculated measure for this data. So looking at the base measure. So we have employee ID as a base measure. We have gender as a base measure. We have hire date as the base measure, and so on and so forth. So now what can I do with employee ID? I cannot do any other thing. I cannot do a calculation with this employee ID. So, but a calculation is possible for hire date. So I'm going to do a calculated measure for this hire date. So here I'm going to do what we call length of service. So in column H, you can type length of service. So I want to be able to know how long this employee has spent within the organization. So in order to do that, I'm going to introduce you to a function called today. So everybody type equals to today function. So today function, we insert today's date in your Excel. And one thing about this function is that it is automated. Okay. Once you open your Excel workbook by tomorrow, it will show exactly the date for tomorrow. It will update itself by itself. So it is called today. So when you open the bracket and close the bracket and hit your enter key, so it is going to insert today's date in the column. Another function I also want to introduce to you is called a now function. So if what you want to do includes date and time, you can as well use this function called now. So you must put equals to, because every function must be preceded by equals to. So equals to is the starting point, or plus sign. So if I put now and open my bracket and close the bracket and hit my enter key, you will see that the date and the time, as at the time I'm speaking now, is 10:08. So date and time has been inserted. So now I'm going to use today's date to calculate, to get the length of service for each of these employees. So we're going to do equals to today's date. Okay, today's date minus, I'm going to do a mathematical operation here, functions there. So today's date minus, this person was hired 31st July 2002. So I'm going to select it. Okay, I'm going to select that. So when I do that, it's going to give us in days, but I want it in years. Okay, so I'm going to do what we call close the bracket. Okay, close the bracket and divide by 365. 365 days. I just want to use 365 days. Okay. Okay. Now hit an enter key. When you hit an enter key, though it's showing in form of a date. Okay. Now the reason being that it's taking the attribute of this column. So Excel is taking the attribute of this column. That's why it's showing it as a date format. So just click on this column. Let's quickly format it as general. So you can click general, okay? Click on general. Now you can see that this person has spent 20 years plus in this organization. So now I do not want this decimal number to be showing. So I want it to give me only the integer value. So there is another function I will be introducing to you now, just to tick off the other years or months, because this one can be calculated, the fractional part of it can be converted into months. So, but I just need only the years that each of these employee has spent within the organization. So I'm going to nest the whole function in another function called integer, int, an integer. So the integer will just only take only whole numbers, so no fraction of it. Although we can use a round number, a round function, but I don't want to round function. I don't want it to round it to a whole number or round it to whatever. So I'll rather use an integer. So I'm going to put at the back of it int, that's an integer, okay, integer. So, and close the bracket. Okay, he's saying that, do you want to accept this correction? Say yes. So I put an integer at the back and go back to format it as general. Something is wrong. Integer. Okay, I need to open a bracket and close the bracket. Yeah, so this is exactly what I want to do. So you can see the function here. So equals to, so if you are following along, equals to open bracket. The reason why we had additional bracket at the end is because we're now using more than one function within another function. So there is a two function we have applied together here, integer and today's function. So this is 20 years. I'll just double click and send it down. So double click and send it down. So I have 20 years. So I'm going to clean off this. Okay, I don't need it. So another thing I want to calculated measure I'm going to do on the base measure for the date of birth is also to put the age, just to do the age. So when you're analyzing the data, so you must always look at what are the insight that you can get, because the data you are working with may not be complete. So that's the process where you need to clean, mine the data for information that you will require during your analysis. So you must derive as many calculated measures that you can derive from your data before going into your calculation. Although this can also be done uh, using a pivot table. Inserting a pivot table, there is what we call a calculated field. So you can as well do that in the pivot table. So, but let's just go through this route first, okay? I'll do the same for date of birth. So I don't want to repeat the same process. I can copy this function, okay, and just change the cell address, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a full stop. So when I put a full stop here, it means it's no longer a function, it is a text, because a function must start with equals to. So I'll copy this function and put it under this age function, okay? All right, and I'll change, the only thing that will change it is cell C2, okay? The cell C2 in that place. I'll change the cell C2, I'll change it to D because I'm referring to the date of that. So I'll change it to D. All right, then take off the full stop and hit your enter key, okay? Take off this as well and hit your enter key. So I have to be fast so that I can, meet up, because our ultimate goal is to be able to get something like this, okay? A summary and HR report. So, and you must be able to demonstrate this, okay? So now, 40 is the age of the first staff. I can see this. So double click it there. So we are through with the calculated measure. So there is no other calculated measure I can do with location, sales, and job grade. Now, having done this, okay, I can format this cell properly, okay, and turn it into a table. The reason why I want to turn it into a table format is so that when we update it and refresh, okay, our report get to refresh automatically. So that's why I want to put it in a table format. And I also want a situation whereby when you add new data, it automatically select the range in that data set. So that's why I want to convert this data into a table format. So to do that, select A1, which is the cell address. Hold down your Shift and Control, okay? Use your directional keyboard right, okay, once, and directional key downward. So it will select all the whole data at once within that data set, okay? Now, I've looked at my data. I have seen that my data is consistent, okay? Abuja, Lagos is written as Lagos, everything, there is no inconsistency within the data set. So if you notice any consistency, you will need to clean it before you go into analysis. Okay, so I'll do insert. This insert tab helps you to insert visualization, pivot table, whatever, for your data set. So it's a very powerful tool. So one of the feature we'll be using in this place is called table. So I'm converting it into a table. So I'll click on the table. Now my table has an header. So that's a field name, the ID, the gender, hire date, and so on and so forth. It has this. So I'm going to click OK. All right. Now it has been converted into table. So if you love this format, you can keep it. If you want other formatting table type, you can come to immediately. You always look at your tab. There is always additional tabs sometimes when you are working with something. When you try to do a particular feature, use a particular feature. So if you look at your tab, you'll see that your tab has increased. Usually, Excel only show 7 major tabs, okay, which are Home tab, Insert, Page Layout, Form, View, Review, and I can't see every other thing anymore. So now just major tabs, but as you work with Excel, you have additional tab. Additional tab. I want to move this thing off my screen so that I can see. Okay, so you have additional tabs. So like here now, you have a table design, So since you're working with a table, you can click anywhere here, mouse over any of the design. It will give you the design that you want. So I'm clicking on the first one because I want to keep it simple. So light. So I'll click this. Even though it's showing as before, but it is in a table format. Hope you get that. Okay. Let me move this back. Okay, now let's now dive into analysis. So like I said, our objective is to get this done just quickly within the time frame. So let's see now, what are the metrics that I want to derive from this data set? Okay, so one of these metrics I'm going to get is one, I want to know the total number of employees within the organization. I want to know the average age. I want to know the number of locations because we have different locations, staff are in different location. I want to be able to know the average length, okay, of service, this average length of service within the organization. I also want to know maximum service. There are a lot of matrices that you can derive by looking at that data set. So let's get right into it once again. So now that I have formatted this, okay, now I need to now insert what we call a pivot table to start analysis, okay? So call this sheet your employees data. I'm not sure it can take, if it can take apostrophe fine, data, okay? Because I already have the name here, okay? So create another sheet in front of it, okay? Or you may not need to create it. When we insert, we'll now name it, okay? So click on anywhere within your data, all right? And go to insert. So in the insert tab, you will see pivot table. So this pivot table, just click on that icon. Okay. Now, because you have converted into a table and you have the right proper set of data, it will automatically select the whole of your data. Okay, ensure that there is no space in between or there is no break in between your data set. Otherwise, if you use this method, where there is a break, that is where the pivot table is going to stop and it's going to distort the information that you're having. So ensure that there is no break within within your data set, such as this. I'll give an example. If you have a break like this, or you have a break in between your data set. So if I try to do pivot table may not capture everything. Now, the beauty of this one, the reason why it captures everything is because it has been converted into a table. Assuming it has not been converted into a table, it will definitely stop here, okay? Excel will just select only up to this point, all right? Okay, so let me undo, Control Z, Control Z. So select any area, insert pivot table, new worksheet, okay? In a new worksheet. So I will insert a table in a new worksheet. So here, instead of calling it, you can call it analysis from your hand, but I'll call it a pivot because I already have analysis, okay? Okay. Or I can call it an analysis, and then put a space just to differentiate between the two. And let me put analysis 2 just to differentiate from the first one I already have. Okay, so now, like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is I want to have the total number of employees within that organization. Okay, so I'll click my pivot table. So I can move my employees ID to the value areas, okay? The value areas. So and do count. So I want to do count of employees ID. Okay, so you can rename it and say total employee. Total employee. Total employee. So I would like to convert this into a table, the design of this pivot table. So go to the design tab. In the design tab, okay, or the pivot table. So I'm going to show report layout. So I like using what we call a tabular form, okay, a tabular form. So I've used a tabular form for this. Structure it in the middle. So that's one analysis, okay. Another analysis I'm going to do, let's go back to here, is to get average age, average age. So I can copy this pivot table and put it here. Okay, so now since I'm getting average age, so I'm going to remove this total employee and put date of birth in the value areas. Okay, then in the count of date, instead of showing count of date, you go towards this small button here, click it, and click on the value fit setting. So in the value fit setting, you'll see a dialog box, the dialog box for it, and then you can select whatever you need here. So we have an average age, okay, average of date of birth. See. Oh, sorry, I'm not doing an average age, average length of service, not the age this time. So I think it's different from what I'm trying to do. So average length of service. This is what I should bring there. Okay. So remove this and bring the length of service. So call it length of service. I will change it to the field setting. I want average. Average is 15. Okay. 15. I don't want the decimal number to show, so I can just click on it. Beg your pardon. And reduce it. You can see this button under the number section still in your home tab. You reduce it to 15 so that it shows only 15. So that's the average, okay? Average of the service here, okay? Another thing we want to do is the average age as well, okay? Average length of service, maximum number, and minimum service. So we can do those ones together. I can put everything together, okay? So I can bring in length of service again, okay? I can bring it the third time. So the second one, I'll change it to maximum, okay? The last one, instead of sum, value fit setting, I'll change it to minimum. So I can rename it. So this is the maximum length of service, okay? Maximum length of service. Okay, then the average age as well. So let's copy this as well again. Put it here and remove the total employee and bring in the age. The age. So as it is right now, it's showing the sum of all the ages for all the employees, but that's not what we want to achieve. So I'm going to click on this small button here under the value field. I'll click on the value field setting and I'll click on the average. So the average age for in the organization is 41 years. Okay, so I'll click it, just 41. All right, so let me go back to our model that we're working with. So what other thing for now? Number of location, the number of location where we have all the staffs. Okay, so if I go to my analysis, I also have where I have the number of location here. So they are in different location, about 9 locations. So I need that insight as well. I need the insight as well. So go back to your analysis, copy any of this. I can put it anywhere because this one is not going to grow. So if you know that your pivot table is going to grow beyond this column, so don't put another pivot table under it. So because we're doing a total here, so I may decide to put something else under it, okay? So I'll shift it back, okay? And location, I'll bring in location. Okay, I bring in location in the row areas. I put it in the row areas. So in this, I don't need the ground total. I don't need the ground total. So I'll go to design, pivot table design. So ground total off. So I off it. So I am going to do something here. I'm going to use a function called count. A function called count A. So we have count and we have count. We have count A. Okay. So the difference between the two is that this one counts numbers. Why this one counts, anything other than numbers. So since what we are counting are not numeric, they are just qualitative information. So I will use this function called count her. So on the top of it, I'm going to put it here and say count this second one. Okay, open my tab and count this table. Okay, whatever is in this table, I close the bracket. So it gives me that we have 9. Okay, so these are analysis and matrix that I am deriving from that data set. So this is what I want to show in my report and summarize it at the end of the day and show management all these matrices. Okay, so next, let's look at our model. Okay, so I think I have done everything for now. Now it's now for us to bring it to our report page. So click and add another sheet and call that sheet reporting or dashboard. Report or dashboard. The dashboard or report, they are the same thing. So when you call something a dashboard or you call something a report, so it's actually the same thing. So a dashboard is just like a one-page report that summarizes everything, okay, about your data set. So I'll call it report or reporting this time around. Now, I don't want all this grid line, okay? So we use one of the tab. It is called view tab. In the view tab, you can disable the grid line. So this grid line, I don't want to see it. I don't need it. So you will uncheck it. So it make it clean. So if you want to remove the headings as well, you can as well remove the headings as well. So let's keep it like this for now. Let's keep it like this for now. Okay, now the first thing I am going to do is to start bringing this information into the report page where I want to summarize. So when I'm done, I can now do a rearrangement of how I want it to be. So this one depends on your creativity, how you were able to design, how you're able to design your report to make it catching and make it look friendly and relatable. So I'm going to be bringing all this piece of information analysis, piece of this analysis that I've analyzed into the reporting area. So I'll start with this employee. So now, first thing I'm going to do is to insert what we call, I'll be using shapes. So I'll be using shapes and graphs, okay? I'll be using shape and graphs to visualize this report. So under this illustration, I'm going to bring in shapes, okay? There are shapes, okay? Shapes, you can use shapes. You can also use what we call this text. When you click on your insert tab, you have what we call this text, okay? You can see this text. So if I click this text and select it, I can draw it, okay? I can draw this text and put it here, okay? Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to say this is total employee. So just type total employee. Okay. Now, when you click at the edge of this box, because I don't want to be showing the outline, you can see an outline is showing, okay? It's showing an outline and it's also having a white background. So I don't want a color for it, the white color, and I don't want the outline to be there. So I'm going to click on it once more, okay? Once you click on it, I told you that there is additional tab when you watch out. Whenever you're working in Excel, whatever you're working, just be watching on your tab. There is additional hidden tab that will show up. It means that you can further work on that shape or whatever you're working with. So I'm going to click on it, on the shape format. Under the shape field, I will say no field. I don't want field. And shape outline, I don't want no outline. So if I click outside it now, so you will see that it's matching with my grid line here. It's matching with everything. So if I click outside, it's not showing as anything. It's okay. So I can copy this, cut it, and take it to my report page. Just paste it here. All right. So once you have done one, okay, I can duplicate this. How do you duplicate this? Hold down your control while it is selected and drag and drop. Okay, drag and drop. Now I'm going to insert the total number of employee. Okay, total number of employee in this one. So what you're going to do is click on the edge of the shape. When you click on the edge of the shape, type equals to, then go back to your analysis where you have your analysis. When you try, because it is a pivot table, when you try to click on it in here, it will give you an error that you will not be able to do that. So there is a way to tweak that. Okay, there's a way to tweak that. I'll go back and do it again. Go to the analysis. I will select a blank space below it, and that which is showing A5 as my cell reference, but my cell reference should have been A4. So I'll just change it to A4. So that's how to overcome that challenge. I'll put it. So I have 11. I have 111 employees. So now I can format it further by increasing it to something like 24. 24, okay, 24. So if you want to change the color as well, you can change the color. So let me show you the color that I use. So in the one I have done, so I'll select this color for my text. I don't know the name. Orange accent to dark. Okay, so I select that color. You can make it bold. I hope you're following along. Okay, I believe you're following along. Okay, now I can copy this one. Okay, the way I've copied every other thing, and I just want to work smart. Okay, I'll just drag, drop, drag, drop, drag, drop, hold down my control, drag it and drop. Okay, drag and drop. So select everything again. How to select it? You are holding down your control and holding down your control while you're selecting them individually. So what I'm going to do is I want them to be in a normal straight line. Sorry. So I'll go to shape. Under shape format, because it has been selected, there is what we call this feature called alignment. Okay, so I'm going to align it horizontally. So I think I should do it separately. Beg your pardon. I should do it separately. Do this, the one with numbers separately, so that align horizontally, okay, and align and align middle, okay, middle. So I'll also do this for the text part of it. Hold down your control when you select the first one. Hold down your control, select the second one, select individually, okay. So I can align horizontally, okay, and middle, okay, so that it gives me perfect arrangement. Now, what I need to now change is, based on this, I have the next thing is the average age. So I'll change this to the average age of employee. So change the text and say average age. Okay, average age. Then for the numbers, okay, so under the analysis A4, so in my analysis where I have the average age is G, that's G4, okay? So you can go there and just change it to G4, just change the cell address to G4 so that it can link up to that, all right? So I have 41, so make it big, 41 years. I can actually apply this format using that format painter to it, okay? You can use format painter. So there's another thing I did is to duplicate this and type years, okay, and type years, and make it smaller, maybe something like 9. So that's something I do, just put it here, okay? All right, so you can see that it's now looking like my prototype, the one we've done before. So that's the average age. So the next one is number of location. The number of location. So you can see number or branch. And simply say branches. So branches. How many branches do you have? So branches. So also, instead of changing the format, the formula or whatever, I mean the formula, just look at your analysis where you have done your analysis. So the location is, the number of location will be A7 because I'm referring to this, which is 9 locations. So we have 9 branches of location. So I'm going to say A7 is the cell address. You can see A7. When you point at this, look at this box here. This is called a name box. So this is A7. That's the cell address. So I'm just going to change the cell address